Hello and welcome to this video brought to you by Louis Art. My name is Emmanuel Okafo and I hope you guys are doing well and had a wonderful weekend. This video is going to be a comparison video, and before we continue I would like to wish you guys a happy new year, since this is the very first video we are posting for this year. In this video, like I said, we'll be comparing the best sculpting software for you. So the two contenders are ZBrush and Blender. I've divided it into 5 categories where we'll be judging from. So that include, for example, the UI. I mean, right off the bat, we could give Blender some credit for being free, especially since Maxon just acquired ZBrush, and we currently don't know the implication of that in aspect of pricing and kind of payment structure. So let's dive right in and get started. So for this category, we'll be starting with Blender, and definitely Blender has some edge over ZBrush in the user experience, since Blender has been undergoing lots of updates with the user experience to make it look more like a modern software, and this gives it an edge over ZBrush. So user experience, like I said, is basically the comfortability and the ease of use each user get by using a particular interface, and Blender does a very good job with that. So you could easily select the character which you want to sculpt and then click on sculpt mode, and you have all your brush laid out for you. If you hold on Ctrl, you could even expand on it. You have lots of ways to access things. Things are basically just laid out easy as you could as you would predict it to be, though it has been getting quite clunky with all the tools and stuff that has been added, but overall you get a much better user experience using Blender. So for ZBrush, one thing you will definitely get with ZBrush is bad user experience, especially if you're just starting out. But what ZBrush lacks in the experience, it makes up with in the tools and functionality, which we'll be talking about in a bit. The learning scope for ZBrush, especially just getting the navigation, which is quite weird, and just accessing tools and finding things, it can be a bit tricky. Of course, there are a lot of tutorials online, and I hope to be posting more tutorials. So if you want me to post any ZBrush related content, you can let me know in the comment. I'm pretty proficient in using ZBrush, and you can also check other videos on YouTube if you want to get started with ZBrush. It's definitely worth it once you get past this user experience, which is a bit clunky and kind of old school, because they have not really done much updates to that. Probably since Maxon is a company known for its sleek UI design and easy to use design, probably we can get that inside ZBrush. So overall, Blender wins in this category, so yay Blender. So in this category, which is the speed of use, basically we'll be kind of evaluating how fast can you get 2 tasks of the same nature done either in Blender or in ZBrush. So I might be biased here since I use ZBrush primarily for my sculpting, though that doesn't take away from the fact that I've used Blender for close to 12 years and I've used the sculpting tools once or twice to try to achieve what I do in ZBrush, especially since Blender is free and you don't have to pay for anything. So of course I've tried it out, and definitely I think in this category ZBrush is going to outweigh it, and I would kind of outline the reason for that. So the reason I'm saying this is because Blender is a traditional 3D software which is created for animation, and although Blender tries to combine lots of workflows, be it modeling, sculpting, effects, simulation, everything, video editing into one software, which is great for the users, it does bring in some limitation in way they can implement certain tools, unlike ZBrush, which is just created for sculpting, so they have more freedom to kind of optimize things for sculptors. A quick example for that is, let's say you want to add more subdivisions. For Blender, you have to select it, you have to go to the modifier, you have to add the multi-res modifier, which is fine, but the way the multi-res modifier is set up is to make it work nicely for animation as well as your creative process. So you can see my point in the sense of, since it's created as an animation software, lots of the implementation of awesome sculpting tools are quite limited by the fact that it has to work with other tools and work in other particular workflows, whereas in ZBrush, for the same task, you can get away with just going all crazy, and focus on like making it easy to use for the user. In this next category, we're talking about how efficient it is to accomplish tasks. This is kind of related to the speed of use, but we're talking about how efficiently can you get a particular task done. So let's say we want to basically pose this character, we want to fix the pose. For Blender, especially when you have multiple objects, you probably have to rig it up to to make it move and kind of repose it, which has lots of advantage, because it's a kind of a procedural workflow in a way that you can always go back, you can add more details, you have more advantage using a rig to kind of pose your character, which I do sometimes, especially in projects where I need lots of iterations. But accomplishing the same task in ZBrush is quite easy, so I'm going to show you now. So here in ZBrush, let's say we want to pose this guy. We can see all of these are kind of separated into different objects, and to easily pose it, if you just want to adjust the pose, it's as easy as clicking the transpose mesh tool. Another great thing with the user interface of ZBrush, which I didn't talk about it earlier, is it allows you for great customization of placing the tool where you can access it easily. So if I want to quickly pose this character, it's a matter of going into transpose mode, which is kind of like the pose mode that allows you to combine all the mesh temporarily. So I can just quickly mask out this area, blur it a bit, and bring out the move tool. So I can just adjust this, and you can do this in seconds and quickly pose your character. You can quickly adjust things. You still have your poly group, which makes it easier for you to isolate objects if you need to. So just pose this, and you can fix different poses that you want. And once you're done, you can just click the escape transpose tool. It's going to maintain the separate objects, but you've gotten the changes applied onto it. So in this next category, we're comparing the two features that the two software offers. So before we continue that, I will want you to go and like this video. If you've stayed this long watching this video or this content, you must have been enjoying it, and thank you for that. So if you enjoyed this video, please go and give it a big thumbs up. This will help you to recommend it to more Blender or just basic artists trying to get more knowledge about this. Also, go to the comments, post anything you like. It doesn't have to even be Blender related. You can go there and wish me Happy New Year, Emmanuel. I will appreciate that very well. Since the scope of kind of comparing to the features of two softwares are quite large, to make it easier on ourselves, we'll be focusing on two main aspects. So the first aspect is how it performs with traditional sculpting tools. So by this I mean the move brush, the draw brush, the pose. The second is the output, basically how fast can you bake your maps, how fast and how detailed can you get this, and the ease of use to be able to get your final output out of the particular software. So with Blender is a well-polished sculpting tool, especially since the most recent update in the sculpting tool. So we got a lot of updates with your overall workflow inside Blender. So definitely they are going to perform much better than you would have expected in the previous versions of Blender. So we have the draw brush. It comes in with a lot of easily accessible parameters which you could use to customize and make it work for you. So you could play with the normals, you could play with the hardness, the topology. You could mask it with topology. You could use facer to isolate it from working. Another great addition to Blender sculpting tools is the move brush. So the move brush is quite awesome because it moves stuff, but it also comes with a lot of parameter which you can use to play around with stuff. One of the best update which I love is this auto mask with topology. So with the combination of these two mesh, previously without this topology and you try to move it, so it's going to basically move all of this at the same time. But with the topology checked on, you can easily move islands nicely. So this comes in handy when sculpting. So overall, Blender traditional sculpting tools performs pretty well, and the difference is not so much with ZBrush. So with ZBrush you can access exactly the same thing. You have great sculpting tools, and it gives you a lot of customization with a lot of pre-made alphas. For stuff like this, it's easy to access it. So I could say over 100, ZBrush will get like 20 point over Blender, so it's not so bad. Blender still performs well, especially for the sculpting tools. So for the output tools, definitely ZBrush wins here, because it offers you a lot of industry standard file formats, and it does this very efficiently. That's baking maps, so you could quickly bake out map. You don't need to duplicate geometry, or you don't have to click so much button. It's a matter of having your setting one time and you just go export maps, and it just does that quite well. So we'll be talking about the scalability for this final category. I will also be concluding the video by giving my own personal take on this. I mean, you probably have gotten my opinion sprinkled around this video, but oh well. So scalability is the measure of a system ability to increase or decrease in performance and cost in response to changes in application and system processing demands. So by the definition, just by the nature of the way ZBrush is built, I think ZBrush comes out on top of this, and that's because ZBrush can be used in a wide range of ways. So you could use it for stylized, you could use it for hyper realistic. It offers you a lot of tools to be able to scale up the amount of effect the project and how much task it can handle. Of course, this is limited by your computer with the amount of details which you could add. But overall, it offers a solution for every aspect. For example, even the computer processing, which I just mentioned, there are workaround through that. So you could use HD geometry to add even more details on top of your image, especially when your computer cannot handle subdividing it could just optimize it for you. So but Blender is a tool which is great for sculpting, and you, of course, there are workaround for certain aspects, but it's quite limited by the nature of how it's built, which is not a bad thing. And by this I will just go into my final opinion for this particular video. So in general, my opinion is ZBrush is a much better software. Apart from my bias of using it for a very long time, I think ZBrush is a more practical approach, and that's basically why it's the industry standard for the sculpting tool, because it offers you every single thing you want from your sculpting program, be it efficiency, be it speed of use, be it the features, and finally the scale which you can push your assets which you create with ZBrush. And that's where I'm going to end this particular video. So I want to know what you guys think. This is just my opinion, so you should take it with a grain of salt. You should do your own research, because Blender might be the most perfect software for what you're doing. The best advantage is that it's free, and the Blender being free doesn't take away from the quality which it gives you. The developers at Blender does a very great job, and it's amazing how Blender is a free software, because it could easily sell for what the industry standard softwares are selling for. So yeah, that's it. Let me know your comment, let me know what you think about this video. I will appreciate it so much. And like I mentioned, you could just comment Happy New Year, or you could just talk to yourselves in the comment section. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you wish to see more from me and you want to support the channel. So bye bye for now. See you next time.